So today we will be doing a 2024 Republican primary between Donald Trump and Mike Pence, not including other candidates that I do believe will run, like Larry Hogan and Asa Hutchinson, just to name a few. Um, and so this is just a head-on primary between Trump, the former president of the United States, and Mike Pence, Trump's former vice president. So, very interesting to look at. So let's get started. I mean, really, a lot of these states, Mike Pence really does not have any sort of shot. Washington, Oregon, California, he's just not going to stir up energy. Actually, let's start with Iowa and then go to New Hampshire. So, Iowa, I do think that Mike Pence would do significantly better than other states because it is a Rust Belt state. He will do well. But at the end of the day, Trump is just going to be too powerful to be stopped, right? I mean, Mike Pence is not beating Trump in the Iowa caucus, the first caucus. Something he would have to do amazing in the debates, or he would have to stir up the race somehow in some sort of way to win Iowa. It's just not happening. Going to New Hampshire, it would really be close because New Hampshire voters in general are just very independent minded and very moderate, much more than other states. And I really think that Mike Pence has a shot here, but I mean, Trump won New Hampshire in 2016, but that was due to such a large. I believe Trump only won like 30% in New Hampshire, just because the more moderate traditional Republican vote was split so much between Cruz, Kasich, Rubio, Bush, so many other candidates. So Mike Pence would come really close, but ultimately, I mean, Trump was elected president. We have to remember that. And he is the party's leader, basically. I'll give that to him. The third state in Republican primaries is South Carolina. Mike Pence is not going to have any shot down here. The South is Trump's base. That is where he will do well. He will win South Carolina by a very large margin. Nevada is the fourth state. Mike Pence would do better here than, say, South Carolina and possibly just as well as Iowa, but Trump is still winning this, especially after he wins Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina. He's going to go on to win Nevada. So now it's Super Tuesday, and I don't know all of the Super Tuesday states, so let's just do all the other states. So let's start with American Samoa, Guam, NI. No idea what that is. Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico. Yeah, I don't know what NI means. Let's see. Oh, Northern Mariana Islands? No, probably not. But anyway, Trump will win all of these. There won't be any Pence enthusiasm in the territories, in the island territories of the United States. Washington and Oregon, yeah, those will be Trump states. A lot of these super Democratic states will be going to Trump. It really has, along with California. Going down to Alaska, I do think that Mike Pence would win Alaska. It is a very moderate state, especially the Republicans. They are more moderate than others. They went to Cruz by a very wide margin. I think that Alaska would go to Mike Pence. I think that Mike Pence would also win the state of Arizona in a primary. Another very traditional Republican type state. But yeah, they have Doug Ducey. Of course, this is John McCain's home state, and Trump lost in 2020 because of the remarks he made about John McCain, the late senator. Doug Ducey is the governor there right now. He is a traditional Republican, if you didn't know. Mike Pence will also carry the state of Utah. This state went to Cruz, I believe, by the widest margin of any state in the 2016 Republican primaries. They are very anti-Trump, yet they still do vote for him in the general election because of how Republican the state is. And I think that Mike Pence would be able to win here. Going to Idaho, another Cruz state, Mike Pence would come pretty close, I believe, but at the end of the day, I think that Trump would win. Of course, we have to remember he's the former president. Montana would be pretty close, I believe, also, but Trump will come out on top, most likely. Wyoming, same deal there. These are all Cruz states. Remember, Cruz did well in the Midwest. Colorado, there will be a lot of Pence excitement in Colorado. The Republican nominee for Senate, Joe Adea, is very much a more liberal Republican, a more moderate Republican, or traditional, whatever you want to say. So Pence could do well, but I will give it to Trump. Same with New Mexico, that's going to Trump by a wide margin. Again, the more Democratic states, the more pro-Trump they will be in the primary. Hawaii, same ordeal. Going to Texas, Mike Pence will have some sort of appeal here as a rural type guy, but Texas is a strong Trump state, and I think that it will go to Trump. That gives Trump 761 delegates. Mike Pence is 125. Oklahoma will go to Trump, but Kansas I do think would go to Mike Pence. This is, again, a more moderate and traditional Republican state, and it's really one where Mike Pence will have a strong appeal here in this Midwest rural type area, and it is moderate enough to have elected a Democratic governor, and that means that the Republicans are very moderate, and I think that they would vote for Mike Pence. Nebraska will be going to Trump, possibly a bit close, as he does have an appeal there also. North and South Dakota are going to Trump by a strong margin. Minnesota, I think, would be extremely close. Marco Rubio won this state in 2016, and that was even with all the vote splitting. Trump did terrible here because, I mean, if you take Rubio's votes with and then Kasich and Cruz's and Bush's, Jeb's, all of their votes would have gone to Rubio too. And Trump, with Rubio, with all those votes, Trump would have done terrible. So I don't think Mike Pence would win. However, I do think that this would be very close. Missouri, I will give it to Trump. Again, the South is going to be strong for Trump. I'm just going to do all the South now. Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, there might be some Pence enthusiasm, but not much. North Carolina and Tennessee, those are all going by a safe margin to Trump. He will do extremely well in the South. Going to Virginia, this could be a state that Mike Pence does very well in, a more establishment state, but then again, Trump made the state likely in 2020 in the general, so I do think that it would go to him. West Virginia, no shot of going to Mike Pence. Going to Wisconsin, I could see Mike Pence winning this state, and I think that if he campaigned enough here, then he would. However, we have to remember, in the recent primary for governor, Tim Michels won because he was endorsed by Trump. And Rebecca Kleefisch was on track to win, but Trump came in and endorsed Michels. So when that endorsement came in, Michels won. So it does show that Trump has a huge influence on the Republican Party here in Wisconsin, and I do think that the state would go to him. Illinois is going to Trump by a mile. Kentucky, at the end of the day, is going Trump, as it is a southern state, but Pence coming right next door from Indiana could make this a very close state. Mike Pence will be winning his home state of Indiana, probably by a substantial margin. Don't see any issue with that. Ohio could be close. However, it really is a very Trump state. It went to him by 8 points both years. So, we've got to give it to him. Michigan will be going to Trump. I don't see Mike Pence doing well in Michigan. Possibly in the Upper Peninsula, but not really in the main part. Maryland and Delaware, Trump, we also saw his endorsement for Dan Cox in the gubernatorial primary for Maryland. And we saw Dan Cox win. And Larry Hogan, the extremely popular Republican governor, endorsed Dan Cox's opponent. And still, Trump's nominee won. So we see that Trump has even more power in the Maryland Republican Party than the governor of the state. So Maryland, Delaware, they will be going to Trump. Pennsylvania will be going to Trump. New Jersey will. These Democratic states, again, not really any excitement for him in New York. I live in Connecticut. He would win Connecticut by a mile. Rhode Island would go to him. Massachusetts, DC will go to him. Massachusetts is going to Trump at the end of the day. Vermont will be going to Trump. Yep, probably. And Maine will be going to Mike Pence. So that was a strong cruise state in 2016, more moderate Republican state, and I do see Mike Pence winning it by a few points. So this is the final map. Trump wins 2,306 delegates. Mike Pence wins 256. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to my channel. Comment video ideas down below. Tell me why you agree on some states or disagree on some states. And yeah, hope you have a good day.